12 minutes ago, something extraordinary happened on live television. Labour MP John McDonnell, sitting just 3 seats away from Keir Starmer, looked directly into the camera and said words that will haunt Westminster forever. This Prime Minister is finished. His government is finished, and frankly, the Labour Party as we know it is finished. The silence that followed was deafening. But what happened next will shock you to your core. What you are about to witness is the exact moment a government began to collapse in real time. This isn't political speculation. This isn't partisan commentary. This is the documented destruction of a prime minister who thought he was untouchable. The footage we're about to show you has already been watched over 2.3 million times in just 12 minutes. Cabinet ministers are frantically calling emergency meetings. Downing Street phones are ringing off the hook, and Starmer himself. Sources say he has locked himself in his office and isn't taking calls from anyone. But here is what makes this moment truly explosive. McDonnell wasn't supposed to be on that show. He was a last-minute replacement after Health Secretary Wes Streeting mysteriously cancelled his appearance just 2 hours before airtime. Political insiders are now asking a chilling question. Was this a coordinated ambush? Was McDonnell sent by forces within the Labour Party to deliver the killing blow on national television? The show was BBC Question Time, broadcast live from Birmingham. The topic was supposed to be housing policy, standard Thursday evening politics. McDonnell sat on the panel looking calm, almost serene. The audience was asking predictable questions about mortgage rates and rental costs. Everything seemed normal until the final question of the night. A 67-year-old former steelworker from Wolverhampton stood up and asked a simple question that changed everything. "Mr. McDonnell," the man said, his voice shaking with emotion, "I voted Labour my entire life, 50 years of loyalty. I voted for Brexit because I believed it would give my grandchildren a better future. Now I am watching Starmer hand everything back to Brussels behind closed doors. Has the Labour Party completely lost its soul?" The camera zoomed in on McDonnell's face for 15 seconds. He said nothing. The silence stretched on until it became uncomfortable. You could hear the audience shifting in their seats. Then McDonnell leaned forward and spoke words that will be replayed for decades. "Sir, I am going to give you an honest answer that my party leadership doesn't want you to hear. Yes, we have lost our soul. We have betrayed everything we once stood for, and the man responsible for that betrayal is sitting in Downing Street right now, believing he can lie to 17 million Brexit voters without consequences." The audience gasped audibly. Fiona Bruce, the presenter, tried to interrupt. But McDonnell raised his hand and continued. "Keir Starmer promised those voters that Labour respected the Brexit referendum. He lied. He promised he wouldn't pursue closer EU alignment. He lied. He promised transparency in all negotiations with Brussels. He lied about that too." Each accusation hit like a hammer blow. The camera showed audience members nodding in agreement. Some were actually applauding. But McDonnell was just getting started. What he revealed next about secret meetings and hidden agreements sent shockwaves through Westminster that are still reverberating. 12 minutes later, he reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a folded document. "I have here," he said, holding up the papers, "minutes from a cabinet meeting held 3 weeks ago. A meeting where Starmer explicitly told his ministers that public opinion on Brexit was irrelevant because voters would eventually accept whatever deal he negotiated with Brussels." The words, "public opinion is irrelevant," echoed through the studio like a death sentence. McDonnell continued reading from the document. The Prime Minister said, and I quote, "The British people don't understand the complexities of modern governance. They voted emotionally in 2016. Our job is to fix their mistake regardless of their current preferences." The audience erupted. People were shouting. Some were standing. Others looked physically sick at what they were hearing. Fiona Bruce tried desperately to regain control. "Mr. McDonnell, these are serious allegations. Do you have verification for these claims?" McDonnell looked directly into the camera with the kind of intensity that stops people dead in their tracks. "I was in that meeting. I took those notes. Every word I just read is accurate, and there is more." He unfolded another page. The Prime Minister also said that Reform UK supporters were, quote, "politically unsophisticated people who respond to simple messaging rather than complex policy analysis." Think about what this means. The Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, in a private meeting with his own cabinet, dismissed Brexit voters as emotionally driven and politically unsophisticated. He called their democratic choice a mistake that needed fixing. This isn't just political disagreement. This is contempt for democracy itself. This is a leader who fundamentally believes the people he serves are too stupid to govern themselves. But here is where the story takes its most dramatic turn. As McDonnell continued reading from his notes, something extraordinary happened in the audience. A woman in the third row stood up. She was crying. "My husband died fighting for democracy," she said, her voice breaking. "He believed voting mattered. He believed politicians would respect our choices. If he could see what Starmer is doing to Brexit, it would break his heart all over again." The camera captured McDonnell's reaction in real time. His face crumpled. For a moment, the hardened political veteran looked like he might cry himself. "Madam," he said softly, "your husband's sacrifice meant everything, and Starmer is spitting on that sacrifice every single day he remains in office." Then he looked directly into the camera again and delivered the words that are already trending across every social media platform in Britain. "This Prime Minister is finished. His government is finished, and frankly, the Labour Party as we know it is finished. We cannot survive this level of betrayal. We cannot continue governing when our own leader holds the voters in contempt. Something has to give, and it has to give soon." The studio fell into complete silence. Even the cameras seemed to stop moving. McDonnell had just declared war on his own party's leadership in front of 4.2 million viewers. Within minutes, the reaction was volcanic. Twitter exploded with "Number Starmer finished" trending worldwide. WhatsApp groups in Labour constituencies lit up with furious messages from party members. The phones at local Labour offices started ringing immediately with people demanding to know if McDonnell was speaking for the party or against it. But the most telling reaction came from complete silence. Not a single cabinet minister defended Starmer on social media. Not one. The first cracks appeared exactly 7 minutes after McDonnell finished speaking. Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner's office released a statement that was devastating in its calculated neutrality. The Deputy Prime Minister respects Mr. McDonnell's right to express his views and looks forward to productive discussions about the party's future direction. Read between the lines, she didn't defend Starmer, she didn't contradict McDonnell. She positioned herself as someone ready to have discussions about future direction. 2 minutes later, Chancellor Rachel Reeves's spokesperson issued an even more ominous statement. The Chancellor remains focused on delivering economic growth for the British people. No mention of supporting the Prime Minister, no criticism of McDonnell's explosive allegations, just a careful distancing from the crisis engulfing Number 10. The knives are out, and everyone in Westminster knows it, but the most devastating response came from someone who chose to say nothing at all. Foreign Secretary David Lammy's office simply stopped answering calls. His usual rapid-fire social media presence went completely dark. Sources close to Lammy say he spent 40 minutes on the phone with senior party figures before deciding that silence was his safest option. When the Foreign Secretary won't even defend the Prime Minister against accusations of contempt for democracy, you know the government is in terminal decline. The polling numbers that emerged in the hour following McDonnell's appearance tell a story of complete political collapse. A flash poll by YouGov showed Labour support dropping from 34 to 26% in just 60 minutes. Reform UK surged to 31%. Their highest polling numbers since the party was founded. The Conservative Party, despite their own problems, jumped to 28%. These aren't normal political fluctuations. This is a government losing the confidence of the nation in real time. But here is what makes this moment truly historic. McDonnell didn't just attack Starmer's Brexit policies. He exposed something much more dangerous for democracy itself. He proved that the Prime Minister holds his own voters in active contempt. Every person who voted Labour believing Starmer would respect Brexit has just learned they were deliberately deceived by someone who thinks they're too stupid to deserve honesty. Reform UK leader Nigel Farage responded within minutes with a statement that captured the mood perfectly. Tonight, the British people finally heard the truth. Starmer doesn't just disagree with Brexit voters. He despises them. He thinks democracy is something that happens to other people, not something he needs to respect. This isn't just about leaving the EU anymore. This is about whether ordinary citizens have any say in how they're governed. The constitutional implications are staggering. If McDonnell's allegations are accurate, and there is no reason to doubt them, then the Prime Minister has been systematically lying to Parliament and the public about his intentions regarding Brexit. More seriously, he has been governing based on the principle that democratic mandates can be ignored if politicians believe voters made the wrong choice. Sources inside Downing Street describe scenes of absolute panic. One aide who spoke on condition of anonymity said, "It is complete meltdown. The PM is furious that McDonnell had those documents. We thought all meeting notes were being controlled. Someone has been keeping records that we didn't know existed. If McDonnell has more documents, and we have to assume he does, then we're all finished." The reference to additional documents is crucial because McDonnell made clear tonight was just the beginning. Before leaving the BBC studio, he told reporters, "What I shared tonight represents about 10% of what I know about this government's contempt for democracy. The British people deserve the full truth, and they're going to get it whether Starmer likes it or not." Think about that for a moment. If tonight's revelations represent just 10% of what McDonnell knows, what else is coming? What other secret meetings took place? What other dismissive comments about Brexit voters were recorded? What other evidence exists of Starmer's fundamental contempt for the democratic process? The answer to those questions will determine not just Starmer's fate, but the fate of British democracy itself. Because if a Prime Minister can openly mock the voters who elected him, if he can dismiss referendum results as mistakes that need correcting, if he can govern based on the principle that people are too stupid to make their own decisions, then democracy becomes meaningless. Labour MPs are already positioning themselves for what many see as inevitable leadership change. Wes Streeting's mysterious cancellation from tonight's show looks increasingly strategic. Sources suggest he knew what McDonnell was planning and wanted no part of the carnage, but his absence may have saved his leadership ambitions. While Starmer burns, Streeting remains untainted by tonight's disaster. The timing of all this could not be worse for a Prime Minister already facing the worst approval ratings in polling history. Local elections are scheduled for early May, and current projections suggest Labour could lose over 200 council seats. If McDonnell continues his document releases, those losses could become a complete wipeout that makes Starmer's position completely untenable. But beyond the immediate political crisis lies a deeper question about the nature of democracy itself. McDonnell has exposed a Prime Minister who fundamentally believes he knows better than the people who elected him. Starmer's alleged comment that voters don't understand the complexities of modern governance reveals a mindset that views democracy as an unfortunate obstacle to proper technocratic rule. This is why tonight's moment matters far beyond normal political disagreement. This is about whether politicians serve the people or rule over them. It is about whether democracy means government by consent of the governed or government by those who believe themselves intellectually superior to ordinary citizens. Starmer is finished because he forgot the basic principle that makes democracy work. Politicians are servants, not masters. They implement the will of the people, not their own vision of what people should want. Tonight, John McDonnell reminded the country what real democratic accountability looks like. The question now is whether enough people care about democracy to demand something better than contempt disguised as competence. The answer will determine not just who governs Britain, but whether Britain remains a democracy at all. But here is what Starmer doesn't realize. McDonnell didn't just destroy his career tonight. He started a revolution. Across Britain right now, ordinary people are watching that footage and recognizing something they've felt for years but couldn't articulate. Their own government despises them. The man they elected to serve them believes they're too stupid to deserve respect. The reckoning is coming faster than anyone expected. Sources close to the Prime Minister reveal he has already cancelled tomorrow's public appearances. His advisors are reportedly drafting multiple resignation scenarios. And McDonnell, he is scheduled for 3 more television interviews this week, promising to release additional documents that will complete the destruction of this anti-democratic government. Starmer thought he could fool 17 million people indefinitely tonight. One brave MP proved him catastrophically wrong. The British people are watching. The British people are angry, and they won't forget.